Okay. Good morning, everybody.
Yes.
My goodness, we have a full house today. I guess I'm partially to blame. I invited my neighbor, Marcia Soderberg, who's here with us today. Welcome, Marcia. Marcia is interviewing local real estate companies in preparation for launching a real estate sales career. And Nancy, weren't you Arthur Anderson at one point? Right, well, it's kind of the same thing, isn't it? Marcia also has a background very similar to that, also some construction background, but mostly accounting and financial services. I'm not sure. Help me out. Who are you?
Oh, Leslie Cole.
Leslie Cole.
Yes.
Have we just not met before?
We haven't met. I have not.
Okay.
I'm with the Corking team.
Okay,
nice
very
to
good.
meet you.
Nice to meet you, Leslie. And I think I know everybody else, so welcome, guys. So today, we're going to talk about basic buyer conversion. And again, let me explain why we're doing this, because we're in the middle of our Exxon series. Somebody remember what Exxon is all about? E is e-marketing. Right, and we've been talking about online lead generation, right? Our Craigslist strategy, building Remax lead street landing pages, all of that. The X would be for expired sellers. O, open houses in network, our sphere of influence, and the other N, neighborhood or geographic farming, okay? Exxon, is that the way the oil company spells Exxon? No, okay? Because a lot of agents think the oil company, Exxon, is going to make them rich, and I'm saying no, it's not that Exxon. It's EXONN that can make you rich. It's being a proactive lead generator in 5 proven lead sources. So that's why we're focused on the EXONN program this spring. So last week we took a break from Exxon and did basic listing conversion. Today we're doing basic buyer conversion, and then we'll get back into Exxon next week. But I just sensed a need, partly because we've been bringing on a whole bunch of new agents to kind of relay the foundations of, okay, so once I get a buyer, what do I do with them? Once I get a seller appointment, what do I do when I get there? So today, we're going to go deep on the buyer part of that equation. And I think everybody's got a manual. We're going to follow that very closely. So let's just go ahead and get into it. Look with me at page 3. I want to give you the overview, first of all, of where we're going and show you how buyer conversion fits into our strategic operational model. So the purpose of this class is to teach an intentional, proactive, and focused approach for helping buyers find and purchase their perfect home. Now, when we say intentional, these are not just business buzzwords. What does that mean? And if you are being intentional, what does that mean? If you were arrested for being intentional, what is the evidence that could be produced in court to convict you? You have a plan. Thank you, Nancy. You have a plan. That's what intentional means. I have a plan. I know where I'm going, and I have a written document to get there. Okay? Proactive. What does that word mean? Intentional, I have a plan. Proactive, I'm implementing the plan, right? I'm taking activity on a daily basis to be productive. The old-fashioned way of saying that is plan your work and work your plan. Plan your work, work your plan. That's being intentional and proactive. Intentional and proactive. So we're going to teach an intentional, proactive, and focused approach for helping buyers find and purchase their perfect home. The expectation, this is what you should be expecting of yourself after this class, is that you will be confident enough to enter into working relationships with serious buyers. And that may seem like a given, but a lot of agents sabotage their own success because, I don't want to proactively lead generate for buyers, because then what I'm going to do when I get one, you know? They're going to ask me questions I don't know how to answer, okay? That's going to be embarrassing to me, and I don't like being exposed, okay? So after this class, that'll be off the table, okay? Because you'll be prepared to have a conversation with a serious buyer. The result, over the next 12 months, the expectation is you should add 9 to 64 closings to your business. Buyer closings as a result of what you learn in this class. And I'll break those numbers down for you. Here's the plan. And we say plan, this is the operational plan. The operational plan begins with what? All real estate sales begins with what? Goals? Okay, that's putting your plan together. We're really at the proactive stage here. Prospecting, right? We prospect. And so here how many prospecting sources are there? How many do we teach? Oh, I'm glad we're having this review. Obviously, yes, 5 prospecting sources. 3 of them directly relate to buyer lead generation, and here they are: open houses, network, and farming. And all that we're teaching in e-marketing is farming. That is one version of farming, posting ads. You're reaching out to people that you do not have a prior relationship with, hoping to initiate an interaction, okay? So the operational model begins with prospecting. What's the goal of prospecting? Why do we prospect? To generate a lead, to get into conversation with somebody who may have a need to buy or sell a home. Once we are in that conversation, what is our goal? This third step in the operational model. We prospect to generate leads. Once we generate leads, what's our next step? Exactly. To convert them or to attract them into a working relationship with us. Okay? Yes, we've identified through prospecting this person has a need to sell their home. Okay? They've identified that to us, or through our Craigslist ad strategy, we've identified somebody who has a need to buy a home. But are they going to buy it using us as their professional representative? Not until we convert them, okay? Until we attract them into a working relationship with us. Once we do that, we service them at a very high level. And I'm going to spend more time, once we complete Exxon, talking about client servicing, because I just really think it's the key to almost everything. You wow your clients, that's going to open the door to so many additional new relationships through their referral networks. And then, once we service them at a high level, we market that relationship. Okay? Once we're in a relationship with a client, whether buyer or seller, that immediately provides opportunities for us to broadcast, to market that relationship. With a seller, what's the most obvious way that we do that? A yard sign, right? I have a relationship with a homeowner who wants to sell their house, and oh, by the way, my name and phone number are in the front yard, okay? That's one way we market the relationship. What's another with a seller that we could do? A just listed campaign. That's exactly right. What's another way with a seller?
Open house.
Open house, absolutely. That would be a way. Or just advertising the property, putting the property on the MLS, putting it on our websites. All those ways are marketing an existing relationship, and we always say that the leverage is in the listing. The leverage is in the seller relationship because there's so many opportunities to market that relationship. Having said that, there is a little bit of leverage in the buyer relationship, okay? Part of that is once we actually conclude the transaction, we can do a just sold campaign. And that's what you see on the operational model right here. There's 5 prospecting sources, 5 marketing sources. Prospecting means we do not have a prior relationship with the client. Marketing meaning we are advertising the current relationship or past relationship that we do have or did have to obtain more business. Okay? And of course, once we market the relationship, what's the intent of that? To generate more leads, to open the door to more relationships, and that cycle of abundance continues. So if somebody were to ask, what is the real estate sales game all about? That's it right there. We prospect to generate leads, to convert leads, to service the clients at a high level, market those relationships, which in turn generate more leads. And we just keep the wheel of abundance turning. Okay, that is the real estate sales game. If you master this, the operational model, you're going to have a very abundant sales career. Very abundant, okay? By the way, where does this class fit on the operational model? Is this a prospecting class? Is this a lead generation class? I'm going to keep going until I get the right answer. Is this a lead conversion class?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. This is the basic buyer conversion class. So in this class, we're not talking about prospecting strategies. We're not talking about lead generation strategies. We're talking about, okay, once you're in conversation, how can you convert that buyer to a working relationship with you? How can you get them on a buyer's rep agreement? Okay? And then once you do that, how can you get all the way through the relationship to the closing table? Okay, from initial conversation, let's say you're on property desk, right? And somebody calls in, hey, can you tell me the price on that home at 123 Elm Street? How can you go from that phone call to the closing table? That's what this class is about, okay? Buyer conversion. The strategy that we're going to employ is relationship-based selling, because there's many ways to convert buyers. Many approaches. We teach a very specific strategy called relationship-based selling, and you'll see why we call it that once we get into the dialogue. It's very focused on building a relationship that's focused on satisfying the needs of the buyer. Okay? And related classes, open house boot camp, why would that be related? It's part of the prospecting plan to generate the leads that we're trying to convert, right? Because you could be an expert at conversion, but if you don't have anybody to talk to, you're going to be very lonely, okay, and hungry, right? Referral boot camp, marketing boot camp, client care boot camp. The first three all have to do with generating additional leads. And of course, client care boot camp is, okay, so once I'm in a relationship with them, I've converted them, how do I take care of them at a very high level, okay? So when you see those classes on the calendar, or if you can't wait, just go to YouTube and you can watch them now, okay? So the summary, buyer conversation or buyer conversion, you'll see those two, conversation conversion, used interchangeably, teaches associates the 5 stages of working buyers effectively. Associates are taught how to facilitate buyer conversations, identify appropriate properties, prepare showing packages, show homes, overcome common buyer hesitations, and close sales. That's all good news, isn't it? That's what we're looking for. This class is designed to turn the typical buyer's agent into a highly respected and sought-after buyer's consultant. Plans, scripts, and tools are provided. Okay? By the way, when I use the word consultant, what am I talking about? What is the role of a consultant?
Advisor.
Thank you. Another way to say that, and I like advisor, the consultant is the option giver. The option giver. As opposed to the client. What's the client's role? The client is always the decision maker. Typical agents often get those roles confused. And it comes out in statements like this, oh, you never want to live over there, okay? Stay away from that neighborhood, okay? Or, oh, this is a horrible house. Look how chopped up the living spaces are. What's wrong with both of those statements?
Well, what if they like that kind of a broken up pattern in their home?
Is it your opinion that matters?
No.
No. It's always the buyers. I had this experience yesterday. Thank God I bit my tongue because I was about to, what I just said. Isn't this floor plan all chopped up? And do you know what the wife said? I really like this. Here's what she said. I can see how my furniture would fit in this room. That last house that was so open, which I just naturally think everybody prefers, she said I couldn't figure out where I was going to put my furniture. Okay? You are never the decision maker. Okay? You are the option giver. You clarify options and you let your clients make decisions. Yes, Phyllis?
I had a painter once that kind of taught me that lesson by giving me the deck of cards, you know, all the colors.
Yes.
And I said, Bob, what do you think? He said, if you like it, I'm tickled pink.
It's that. There you go.
Isn't that
That's a perfect illustration of that. Yes, that's right. So you're going to be a consultant giving options, clarifying options. If you buy here, your kids will go to this school. Is that a good school? Well, go to this website and make that determination for yourself. Okay, very good. So, page 4, financial consequences. I said that the expectation is you could add 9 to 64 closings. Where in the world do those numbers come from? Let's walk through this very closely. Out of 52 weeks this year, let's start the new year right today. 52 weeks going forward. Let's presume that you work 45 of those. Okay, take holidays, vacation, personal days, travel, all of that. You're only going to work 45. If you set one buyer meeting per week, that's a set. Okay, so you're probably on the phone and you set an appointment with a buyer prospect, you'll set 45 over the course of a year. The show-up rate, we're going to be very conservative and say 50%. Half of them don't even show up to the meeting, okay? We're being conservative. That means you'll have 23 meetings over the course of the next 52 weeks. Let's again be extremely conservative and say only 50% of them qualify for financing to buy a home or have the cash to buy a home. That means you're going to have 12 actual clients. Of those 12, let's say 75% end up buying. There's your 9 closings. 9 closings that originate from one set appointment per week. Now, if you commit to this strategy and to the lead generation, prospecting and lead generation strategies we're teaching, you can expect to set more than 1 buyer appointment a week. Okay, so what if you set 2 a week over the next 45 weeks? That's 90 appointments. But because you're committed to this source and committed to mastery, to getting better, your conversion rates are going to increase. In this case, 60% show up. That means you made a stronger set. You demonstrated more value to the buyer in the conversation so that they were more likely to actually show up for the meeting. Okay? 54 meetings, 60% qualify, 32 clients over the course of the year, 85% buy because now you're more effective at matching buyer needs to actual properties. Okay? Closings now 28. You've more than tripled your number of closings just from doubling your sets from 1 to 2 a week and improving your skill set. Now, at proficiency stage 3, still only working 45 weeks, right? We don't want you to work yourself into the ground. We're not teaching workaholism, okay? But now 3 sets a week. By the way, is that even possible? Can you set 3 buyer appointments a week? Has anybody ever done that? I mean, anybody in the history of the real estate industry. Yeah. And what is the only limitation those agents have that you have? That's it, time. They have 24 hours in a day, you have 24 hours in a day. What differentiates successful salespeople from everybody else is what you do with that time. Are you opening the door to new relationships? Is that the focus of your business? Okay? The real estate sales game is about lead generation. He or she who generates the most leads wins. Okay? And you see that right here. 3 sets per week. 135 sets for the year, 70% show-up rate, 95 meetings, 70% qualify, 67 total clients, 95% buy. Okay? You're a machine now. Okay? You know how to work these buyers. There's your 64 closings. By the way, what is your projected average sale price this year from your business plan? Anybody? $300,000, okay? So, and your average commission rate is what? What do you charge to list somebody's home? Or to represent a buyer? Okay, so that's about a $9,000 average commission. Okay. By the way, most people don't get 3 over the course of a year. Do you ever discount? Yeah, so yeah, you do in certain situations. So 3 is a little bit optimistic, but the math is easier, so I'm going to go with that. That's $9,000, right, on a $300,000 sale. So that would add right here $81,000 in total income. Just at beginner level, 1 set per week. And I can't do this math in my head, but that's a whole lot more than $81,000. We're up into the multiple 6 figures, okay? You don't have to master every aspect of the real estate sales game. If all you did was master buyer lead generation and conversion. That's all you focused on. You could generate plenty of money to fund your aspirations, okay? And that's all this page is designed to teach you, okay? So here's the know, do, have of the relationship-based selling method. Again, the aspect of the operational model we're focused on is conversion of buyers. Here's our strategy, relationship-based selling method. That's the do. That's what we're attempting to do, this method. So what do we need to know and have to fully implement this method? Well, here's what we have to know. Meeting one dialogue, showing dialogue, closing dialogue, justification dialogue, and low ball dialogue. What do all those things have in common?
Dialogue.
Dialogue. We have to know what to say, right? What is the most powerful tool available to a real estate sales agent?
Script.
It is scripts. I like to say the tongue, okay? That is your most powerful tool, your tongue. What comes out of your mouth, what you say. That's what differentiates. If you go to conferences and top producer panels and you hang out, thanks Lydia. She's on property desk, so she's moving towards her highest dollar productive activity. It's exactly what we would coach her to do. Okay?
Also your most dangerous.
Excuse me? The tongue, oh yes. Hey, you're quoting the Bible now, aren't you? Okay, so if you listen to top producers, if you hang around top producing agents, you're going to see that one of the things that's different is that they have an answer for everything, okay? Or if they don't have an answer, they have a response that instills confidence in their client. Okay? You know what, Lulu? That's a fantastic question, but the rules on that have changed recently, and I want to give you the best available information. Let me check with my broker on that. Okay? I'll get right back with you. Did that instill confidence? Yeah, absolutely. You don't have to know everything, but you have to be able to speak with confidence into everything. Okay? That's what differentiates. So you have to know dialogue. Well, here's the good news. Every bit of this dialogue is in your manual. Okay? So you're going to have the ability to know that by the end of class. And then what do you have to implement the strategy? Criteria sheet, my role sheet, your role sheet, an IABS, buyer's rep agreement, sales contract, applicable addenda, letterhead, and note card. Okay? Everything that's on this list that's not already available to you, like the sales contract and the IABS, is in your manual. Okay? So you now have access to everything that you need to know and have in order to do the relationship-based selling method. Okay? So no excuses. That's what that means. Okay? You're going to be fully equipped. Now let's check our attitude before we get into the nuts and bolts. Because remember, all behavior is what? An afterthought. All behavior is an afterthought. That means that every act that we perform, first of all, began as a thought in our mind. Okay? It springs from belief. Some of y'all have heard me say this before. If I could just watch you for 2 weeks straight, I would know you better than you know yourself. Okay? Because we can lie to ourselves and deceive ourselves about what we really believe, right? Can't we? Are people ever self-deluded? Okay? But what doesn't lie? Behavior, actions. That's exactly right. So if you just watch somebody long enough, you can read them like a book. You'll know exactly, because behavior doesn't lie. Behavior reveals what we truly think and what we truly believe. So if we're going to function at a highly effective and efficient level, we have to get our beliefs right. We have to have thoughts and beliefs that support highly productive behavior. Well, here are the beliefs that very specifically support the relationship-based selling method. So take a look. I'm going to pause for a moment. I want you to read through them, and I want you to highlight any that resonate with you or any that don't make sense to you. And those are the ones that we'll focus on for discussion. Okay, somebody share one that they highlighted. Just read it out loud for us. Okay, Tiffany, you first.
My only limit is time.
Okay, now, does that because you believe that or you don't understand that?
No, I believe that. I feel like I don't have enough hours
Yes,
in the day to
yes.
do everything I should be doing.
That's right, my only limit is time. Dana always sticks her head in my door. Anything I can do for you, you know what my answer always is? Yeah, give me another hour in my day, right? But she can't do that because that's our only limitation. We got 24 regardless. Yes. So what does that mean? What's the implication of that for the relationship-based selling method?
We have to make the most of the time that we have, so maybe be laser focused or super organized and have a system.
Yes. Yes.
We're really efficient with the time that we have
Yes.
in the office.
I love everything you're saying. Let's complete the loop here. As it relates to working with buyers, what does that mean?
Being the most efficient, like during your meetings, prepared.
Yeah.
Know their needs.
Okay? All of those things are true. But I'm going to tell you the biggest impact it has on time limitation is that you're only going to work with A buyers. B buyers and C buyers are the biggest time suck in a real estate agent's career. Putting a B buyer or a C buyer in your car is going to devastate your productivity. So yeah, we can get better in meetings, we can get better at showing houses, but what we had better be really good at is determining, is this person an A buyer?
And what's an A buyer?
What a wonderful question.
What if it's someone that they're not ready right now, but they will be in 5 or 6 months?
Yes.
You still want to give them attention throughout this 5 or 6 months.
Yes. Yeah, okay, so Tiffany,
They're not ready.
I'm going to ask you to hold that, right? Because they don't meet all 3 criteria of an A buyer, and in class we're going to address what do you do with somebody who only meets 1 of the 3 or 2 of the 3, which is what you're describing, okay? But what are the 3?
Ready, willing, and able.
Oh, I like those, okay? Let's use their synonyms: motivated, qualified, and loyal. Motivated, qualified, loyal. So Tiffany, what you just described was somebody who may have been qualified and may have been loyal, but they don't meet the 3rd test. They're not motivated, meaning they're not prepared to buy now. They're not ready to buy now. And so we'll have a strategy for dealing with them. Yes?
Okay, if you're sitting on property though, motivated and qualified might be, but loyal is a little tough at that point.
Yes, it is. And you're not going to be able to test loyalty on the telephone at first conversation, but we do have a test for loyalty which will be taken long before the buyer gets in your car. Okay, so hang on, that's part of the strategy. Okay, somebody else, what did you highlight on this page?
A buyers deserve my immediate time and attention.
That's exactly right, and here's back to the point that we were making with Rosemarie. If you've got B buyers in your car or C buyers in your car, who's being neglected? A buyers. Because our only limit is time. What are we going to do with that time? Are we going to waste it on B and C, or are we going to give it to our A buyers? This core belief says A buyers deserve my immediate time and attention because they are motivated, qualified, and loyal.
Those ones
Okay.
you refer.
The B's and C's? Hang on. Y'all are trying to get it out of me ahead of schedule. I promise I'll address that. We'll get to B's and C's. Okay, somebody else, what did you highlight? What's something that you didn't understand that's on the core beliefs?
13, if they won't meet me, they are not a buyer.
Okay, if they won't meet me, they're not a buyer. That's a tough one for most agents to swallow. Here's what that means. You have the phone conversation, right? This might have been a Lead Street lead that was generated. It might be a Craigslist ad lead. It might be a property desk lead. You're in conversation with them. We're getting a little ahead of schedule here. What you're closing to on that conversation is a face-to-face meeting. So here's where the core belief comes in. If they will not meet with me, they're not a buyer. Again, what reveals all? What is the true indicator of a person's thoughts, beliefs, and motivations? behavior. So I have to trust that. I have to trust behavior even more than what they're telling me on the phone. I trust behavior more than words. And if they're unwilling to meet with me for a get-focused meeting, I have to accept the truth, they're not a buyer. They are a time waster. They are a poser. They are a wannabe. Because a serious buyer is going to want to meet. You have to believe that. Now, is that true 100% of the time? No, not 100%, right? We don't live in a world of perfection. But here's the deal. In chasing the 3%, okay, that are the exception to the rule, you're going to neglect the 97% that are the rule, okay? So you have to adopt that as a belief, recognizing every once in a blue moon, you're going to give up a client that would have actually gotten to the closing table. But in compensation for that, you're going to have closed 10 others who are worthy of your time. Okay? Something else on here that doesn't make sense to you or that you don't understand.
Really liked it's a win-win or no deal, because if you're not on the same page
Yes.
as your buyers, it really isn't going to work.
Yes.
You have to be on the same page with great communication. I think that's the key too, because as agents, we can't get caught up on what our opinion is.
Yes.
We have to let them make the decision, but know what their goals are.
Yes.
And just help facilitate that, not make the decision for them. So I really like that one.
As we get into the dialogue, you're going to see some specific examples of win-lose and lose-win situations. So when we say win-win, that means the buyer wins, right? Their needs are met in this transaction. But there's two wins, right? So our needs have to be met in the transaction also. We're not going to accept a lose so that the buyer can win. Okay? We're also not going to let the buyer lose so that we can win. It has to be win-win. Okay? And that'll make more sense as we get into the dialogue. Yes, Mike?
Okay. You get a lead street generation thing. Okay?
Yes.
You respond and you don't get a response. Is there an X amount of time where you feel that that's either you're still in qualifying A, B, or C category?
Well, you're not even to conversion. You have no idea. What Lead Street is a prospecting mechanism, and it serves up to you a name and an email address and maybe a phone number. And that's when you go into lead conversion mode of trying to make contact and set an appointment. Okay? You're never going to know if they're an A buyer until you get them in front of you. Okay?
Or a response.
Yeah, you get some kind of response. That's right.
But, okay, do you have other steps to go beyond the first initial step to try, or should you?
Sure. Okay, so yeah, that's really lead generation. Once they serve up a name, how do we follow up to get them to respond to us initially and then get the appointment? That kind of goes beyond the scope of what I want to cover today. Okay, so we'll circle back to that. I'm going to ask you all about one of these, number 10. Time reveals all. What in the world does that mean? Time reveals all. How does that relate to what we're talking about?
Gives you more chance to observe the behaviors, to be a keen observer.
Yes, it does.
To know your client better.
So time, that's exactly right, Phyllis. Time will eventually tell us if they're an A buyer, right? If they're motivated, qualified, and loyal, time will tell us that. Is that a good use of time? No. No, it's a terrible use of time. This is really a negative belief. Because if I don't have a proactive system for determining if they're an A buyer, my default is time. I'm going to put them in my car and drive them around, and if they eventually buy a house, they're a buyer. Okay? Highly inefficient.
I was taking a little bit different approach to time.
Yes.
I mean, if they say, okay, let's go, that's a time relevant that they're ready now.
Yes.
That's good.
That's an indicator of motivation. It's not proof of motivation. Yes. Yes. What that proves is they're motivated to look, right? It doesn't show that they're motivated to buy. I'm going to get you through the process where you are assured they're motivated to buy. Okay? We're actually going to ask them that directly. So time reveals all. Do not depend on time to reveal all. Highly inefficient. It will do that. It will function in that way. But what you want is a proven system to determine whether or not this person is an A buyer. Okay? All right, very good. So let's move on. Page 7. Since time is limited, and we're going to demand maximum productivity from our investment in time, we need to know what the vital activities are. Where should I be spending my time in working in my buyer department? Well, there's 7 vital responsibilities. Lead generation, which is finding. Lead conversion, attracting, which is what we're focusing on today. Once we are in relationship, we've converted them with a buyer, then we have to do some administrative prep. Okay, we gotta prepare a showing schedule. We got to schedule showings, all of that. Then we actually show. Then we write and negotiate offers. Then we prepare for closing. And then after closing, we have post-closing activities. We stay in touch with that client post-closing. So that's it. That's really the 7 major areas of responsibility in our buyer department. By the way, we do break these down in another class, don't we? We go more detail on these 7, don't we? How many vital buyer activities are there under these 7 responsibilities?
47.
Thank you, Rosemary. Yes, 47. There's 47 vital buyer activities, 47 vital seller activities, altogether 94 vital activities. We talk about those